Hey, thanks so much for joining me. I'm really super excited to share this information with you. For years now, I've been meeting all over the area in people's homes and getting to the kitchen table or dining room table to have this conversation. We're in a different world right now. I'm learning that we've got to be a little more uh, creative in our messaging today so that I can share this high level, what I consider to be proprietary information with you, because the last thing that you want is me, some stranger, coming into your house to potentially waste your time. So I'm going to deliver this to you in a format that you can watch at your convenience. And if you find it meaningful, if you find that you've learned something or that I've added some value to the knowledge of the real estate transaction, I would just encourage you to keep my name and number around for whenever that time comes if you're not ready to take full advantage of this information yet, or if you know somebody in your life that would want to actually get the most for their home and actually get a buyer to overpay for it. I would encourage you to share this video, have them call me. I'll give you my numbers and stuff at the end. I'm going to give you about a half a minute about myself and then about a half an hour about how this can help you. My name is Chris Higgins. I've been selling real estate here in the Ohio area for over 20 years. I used to build homes before I did that. I learned that building a home is not as difficult as selling a home. So that's what really caught my passion. I got into real estate with a company called Smythe Kramer Company way back in 1999. So I became a manager with them, and ultimately Howard Hanna Real Estate Services purchased us, and I was a vice president for that company, where I managed hundreds of the area's top agents, help them, coach them through their businesses, through their transactions, and of course their clients, their buyers and sellers. So through it all, I've virtually had my hands on countless thousands of home sales here locally. I know this market very well. And of course, for the last over 10 years, my wife and I, Betty, have been selling real estate direct. I resigned from management to go out and follow my dreams. And here we are. What I've learned is there is a way that you can do this that requires a little bit of work. And some are asking me, Chris, do you really want to deliver your presentation and let the public see it? Aren't you worried about other agents taking your information? And you know what? You still have to do it. There isn't any magic bullet that your silver bullet you can just put in place to make this stuff happen. You actually have to put the pieces in place. And I'm 100% confident that everyone has that capability. And in my experience, again, coaching so many agents, so few do it. So I'm really excited to share that with you. And as we speak, so this is proof in the pudding. As we speak, we have a property. It's about 3 o'clock here today. I'm heading out to the seller's home at 5 p.m. to review 4 offers, of which I'm told are anywhere from 10 to 20% over their asking price. And we put this property on the market at 5 p.m. yesterday. This is a 24-hour closing. And I'm going to share the same things that we are doing for them with you so that you can get buyers to overpay you for your house. So the first thing is two things that I kind of like to focus on that really make things happen. Number one, preparations and promotion. It's really all about the preparation. I'm going to kind of zoom around to my notes here. So what we're talking about here is no lipstick on a pig. Okay, we are not going to get overpaid for a house that needs repairs, that is deferred maintenance, that's not clean. We're talking about preparing the home for to get overpaid. I mean, why would they overpay you for something like this? We're going to blend that with the high-level targeted promotions that I'm going to share with you, which I think you'll be surprised. This isn't the old-fashioned stick a sign in the ground thing. We're gonna talk about some stuff today that will really attract the highest and best, highest paying buyer to your property. So preparations and promotions is really where it begins. As I said, we're not throwing lipstick on a pig. The market today is not accepting a house that's not prepared. So we really need to be ready for this. Again, it's okay if you don't want to get overpaid for your home. We don't have to do some of the things I'm going to share with you. Many sellers don't. Many sellers are many of us, they just want to flick a switch and make the sale and move on. That's okay. We can still help you. But if you want to actually get overpaid for your home, I'm going to talk about some different things. So here we go. And you've heard these before, but I want to put a little perspective in it. We're talking about taking some steps, taking a little bit of time. you've got to have a clean house. You've got the cleanest houses. Look at these pictures. These are gleaming properties. This is where a buyer feels that they could bring their belongings and move in and not, have to sweep up the floor and worry about what was spilled there last night. So the cleanest homes, you got to think professional cleaning. You got to think, if you don't like to do that yourself, you want it gleaming. That's the word I usually use with a seller, and that's where it begins. Once we get the home staged, now everyone gets afraid of staging. They think, oh, geez, I'm going to have to go rent furniture and do all this stuff to my house. Really, in some cases, in almost many cases, what we're talking about is preparing the home in a way that when a buyer sees it, they don't see your lifestyle in it. They see the potential lifestyle for themselves, which means it's going to be maybe a little less cluttered than it is when we're living very comfortably in our homes. Maybe we're moving some of the chairs that sort of impede the pathway or the flow of that first impression view. Maybe we're putting them out in the garage so that we can maximize the experience of that room and the spaciousness of that room. And that's where the professionalism comes into play with the type of service that we can deliver to help you through that process. There's also a ton of stuff that you don't have to do. We don't have to go and paint every room. We don't have to go and do things that are unnecessary. But definitely going to unclutter some things. We're going to minimize the distraction. I've always thought about. I've walked through homes with buyers, and I've really paid attention to how they respond to a property. And the old-fashioned, everybody says, "Oh, you got to take all your personal pictures down." Well, it's not so much true. You can have a couple personal pictures, but it's when you open the door in the hallway and the entire wall is full of friends and family and graduations and weddings. Well, as a human being, you can't help but just to be stopped and stuck and looking. Now, what didn't happen there? What didn't happen is I opened the door in the house, all the preparation that seller put into it did not make an impression on us. It lost. It got beat by the distraction. Okay, so distractions are a big part of that. Another thing that I really want to impress upon you, and you may have experienced this yourself, but I'll tell you what, if you're a seller thinking about selling by owner, I don't have a problem with that. I'm just going to say this, and this is based on personal experience, proven observation, watching a buyer really become completely distracted by the presence of a seller. The house is second to the seller. And in most cases, sellers think when you're selling your home, you got to talk, and tell all the features and benefits. In most cases, and this is probably what frustrates a lot of sellers, the real estate agent isn't selling the house to the buyer that they otherwise wouldn't have already fallen in love with. We can talk about some validation points like they get that feeling, and that's that buying feeling. It's a decision. It's like an emotional internal. The facts and the features, that just reinforces it, but it's second to that feeling. What happens is a seller gets in the way, and they're talking and they're walking and they're in the way of the impression, and the buyer's clamming up and reclusing more and more, and it's not at all a good experience. So that's the number one distraction. That's why I have it in parentheses, to not do if you're a seller. So just keep that in mind as a little benefit. Again, a big thing here is curb appeal. Most buyers will form an opinion at the curb. They will, upon arrival, start to have that invited feeling of going to the home, or start to have that distance between the home and the buyer itself. It starts with the simple preparation that we do from the outside, moving the cans away, maybe putting out a little mulch. I mean, I've driven up to some homes and I think to myself, put forth some effort. Now, they're not going to get overpaid for their home. Okay, this conversation today is about getting overpaid for your home. So if I'm losing you and you're not feeling like these things are important to you, that's okay. I can still sell your home and get you a lot of money for it, but I want to get you overpaid. And these are the steps that I'm sharing with you. And of course, deferred maintenance. Deferred maintenance is the furnace that should have been probably replaced 2 years ago, or at least the fan blower. I went into a home the other day. You could barely hear in the basement, and this furnace sounded like it was about to go. Is somebody going to overpay for that house? No, they're not going to overpay for that house. So basic stuff. It really begins with the expert property evaluation. I highlight expert because you've probably heard the definition of an expert: 10,000 hours or 2,500 sales. Now, I say 2,500 sales because you can't really put an hour amount on a sale, but you want to work with somebody who's sold a lot of real estate, who's been through a lot of houses, watched a lot of buyers fall in and out of love with the house, worked with tons of sellers on getting them overpaid. Otherwise, why would you even take their opinion into consideration? Work with the best. They will be a little more expensive, but I assure you, they're going to get you overpaid for your house. They're going to get you more than fair market value. This isn't about saving money today. You don't have a problem with trying to save a commission. This is about getting paid over market value. Okay, so we're delivering value to you, and I want to share this with you. Number one, we're going to go in and we're going to identify the benefits of the house. We're going to take an assessment of what the characteristics of this property are. What are we working with here? We're taking very detailed notes because what we're doing is designing a strategy to exploit those characteristics to the highest and best, highest paying buyer. It's a real basic step. Again, this isn't put up a sign, put you in the MLS, or put up my FSBO sign and go into Zillow. We're going high level, detailed information. And most sellers and most agents are going to take the path of least resistance to get the promotion they want. They're going to, stick it in the MLS, stick up a sign. Most agents, this is why I quit managing. They're hoping another agent just shows up with a buyer. They're not putting forth a specific target marketing plan to identify a buyer and aggressively, proactively pursuing that buyer with high-level messaging. That's not happening. They're sitting in their office. They're waiting for another agent to show up. The seller that's trying to save a commission, they're going to post it on Zillow because why? Zillow says they'll do it for free. Well, why not? Well, here's why. Zillow is using you. Guess what happens? They're tricking buyers into thinking the buyer is going to contact you because the buyer that wants to talk to you, if you're selling by owner, they're looking for a deal. They're not looking to overpay you for your home. You know what I mean? It's kind of like a counterproductive. It's not in alignment with each other. Meanwhile, all those buyers that are clicking through on your great property, guess where they're going? They're going to the ad agents that are paying thousands and thousands of dollars a month to Zillow, and they're taking those buyer leads and they're going down the street and selling them listed properties. And I don't think they're overpaying either. So that's just a little side note. I got a little lost there, but it's the path of least resistance that leads to the least outcome. You know what I mean? We got to put forth effort. That's why I'm not afraid to share this. And if you're an agent watching this, I hope you learn something. But at the same time, I highly doubt you'll actually implement because this is a system. That's what we're doing here. Now, here's the question. When we look at this property, we're going to also survey areas of opportunity, I call it. This is where maybe there should be a repair made, or maybe that one room does need to be painted because we need to maximize the first impression so that we get overpaid. I mean, that's what this is all about. So promoting the property, okay? We got to have a plan to promote this property. And once we get the details to exploit and the property is in position to be seen for the first time, we're going to start a very specific high-level target marketing program strategy to identify and attract the highest and best buyers. Let's talk about the house. What does this house have? Do we have an in-ground pool? Do we have a wine cellar? Is there acreage, outbuildings? Maybe it's a fully fenced-in yard. Is the neighborhood comprised of a certain demographic? Are we maintenance-free? Are the residents in the neighborhood executives or business owners, or is it more of a blue collar? Why am I asking these questions? Why do I want to know this information if I'm going to do a target marketing campaign? Well, believe it or not, I'm not going to be rushing to put this property out to the masses. So most agents, most sellers, they want to race it to the market. They want to get it to the masses as quickly as possible. Those are the two biggest mistakes you can make when advertising and marketing and promoting a property. I mean, it seems logical. We want it to be seen by as many eyes as possible. Well, we're talking about quantity, not quality. At the same time, we're rushing to get there. And meanwhile, we're missing opportunities to exploit, to target, and maybe we're going too quickly. We miss that first impression. So we want to be very systematic and strategic. And I'm looking for the characteristics so that I can target the actual right buyer for the property. Would you believe it or not that if I told you I could find people with dogs with 3 or more cars that might be wine lovers within a 40-mile radius of your subject property? And I can have that list. That list will tell me first and last name, home address, cell phone, home phone, email, Facebook account. I can pay for that list. That's right. I can actually invest money, which I do, to find the contact information for those folks, and I can identify. Now, what would happen if, let me just ask you this hypothetically, do you think if I attracted somebody who had a subscription to Wine Aficionado, whose kids were local tennis club members, who had a dog registered and had 3 cars, and your home just happened to be in a neighborhood with tennis courts, a fully fenced in yard with a wine cellar in the basement, might I attract a higher quality buyer that might not even be in the market to purchase today, but sees the perfect house for them? Now I've got their attention. Okay. Now we're going to still use the masses. We're going to still use the MLS or Zillow. We're going to enhance the process, but that's all that is. Those are tools. We're going to enhance the process to the highest and best target buyers. So that's what we're talking about today. Is we're talking about target marketing. This is niche marketing, how to sell over fair market value. Because when you find the right buyer, rather than saying, yeah, it's a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, we need that 3-car garage. Oh, and there's this wine cellar in the basement. I guess that's nice, but I don't really drink wine. Well, are they going to overpay you? No, they're not going to overpay you. Or it's on a golf course. I haven't really golfed in years, but geez, I love the house. Am I going to overpay? No, I might just wait for something else. That's what this is about. We're target marketing. We're not just marketing to the masses. So this is a marketing strategy based on, now it gets even better. Just as I can pay for that sort of old-fashioned data list, I can actually go into different social media platforms such as Facebook, for example. And would you believe it or not, I can actually, and I do this every day for our business and for my sellers, we can actually identify what's called custom audiences. Now, a custom audience enables me as a marketer, which is what I am. I'm a marketer. I'm a real estate transactionalist. I mean, our value lies in attracting the right buyer, but also getting it to the finish line with you getting your money, being overpaid, and the buyer getting their keys, and everybody feeling good about it, by the way, a total win-win. So, but it begins with the marketing. And I can go to Facebook today right now, and I can say, I want to be able to put the video of my new listing with that amazing fenced in backyard, and it's got this perfect little doggy washing thing or some dog thing in the house. I want to target everybody who's liked or interacted or watched ads from Petco, Pet Supplies Plus, and Petland. Now that's target marketing. All of a sudden, I've got a video that's tailored to that buyer based on the criteria and the characteristics of this home. So it starts to make sense. And this is why I'm so unafraid that any other agents are going to do this, because guess what? It takes time, energy, money, investment. I'll just go throw a sign in the yard and put it up in the MLS and wait for another agent to sell it. And my seller is going to get underpaid for the property. So that's what this is really all about today. Now, it used to be, you've probably seen the coming soon. Now, we talked about getting the home prepared. Back in the old days, it was a really great concept. We would get the coming soon in place. So I would go and visit with the seller and I would say, well, we need to get this carpeting in. We need to get that paint up before we, let anybody see the houses, or certainly take pictures and all that kind of good stuff. So you only open once is the concept. It is now become a pre-marketing strategy, but first and foremost, it allows us to prepare the property. So if I were to come to your home today and we had some areas of opportunity where we might want to update or improve some things, we don't want to miss out on the current market, the visibility that we can get, because essentially you're selling. You're just not ready now. So what we do is we put the property into coming soon. It becomes a pre-marketing strategy for me. I'm putting basically an exterior shot on the house, maybe 2, maybe 3, nothing inside. We are marketing the property online. I have already begun my target marketing, okay, because I know this is giving me the time. I'm target marketing to those people, to their houses, to their emails, to their social media. We're getting those highest and best, highest paying buyers in position because the property's coming soon. We're building excitement, building curiosity. So now, meanwhile, we're getting the home ready on our terms. We're getting it clean, we're getting it staged, so that when it's ready, you get the first impression and it is perfect. So that's the sort of fundamental and logical reason. Beyond that, it's a tool to generate urgency and curiosity and position your property as the one to see. And it drives buyers crazy. This is what I love about it. I love the concept of restricted access. Here we talked earlier about how fast we want to get it into the MLS. I want to get an open house scheduled this weekend. I want to move. I want everybody to see it. I want to do the opposite. I want someone to see your home and be aware of it. I want the right people. And then we're going to start to enhance the visibility of it by putting it out on the internet. And then we're going to enhance the urgency and the curiosity and the enthusiasm even more by putting it on the MLS. So like this stepped process. But meanwhile, nobody can get in. It's restricted access. Imagine that. It's like the Apple iPhone when they started, leaking the secret iPhone was coming in 3 weeks, and all of a sudden people are camping out at Best Buy because people want what they can't have access to. It drives them crazy. It's a wonderful tool. It's one of the only tools that I'm aware of that actually generates urgency in a real estate transaction, a real estate environment. And the funnest part for me is when I interact with buyers that are, I've heard stories like, I'm leaving town for 3 weeks. I have to get in today. I can't wait until next week when it's going to be available. Well, I'm so sorry, but let me just say this. If you're going to be in town next week, we're going to go live on Saturday morning. I'm going to make sure you are the first appointment of the day. How does that sound? Now, we've gone from restricted access to priority access. The mindset there, the urgency level, I have literally opened the door of a home after having restricted access, shifting to priority, and we've just gone and locked the door and sat down and wrote an offer on the kitchen table. That's how effective this method is. Okay, this is one of the components, one of the tools that we're using. Now, again, you can't just throw it into coming soon and put up a coming soon sign on it and just think this is going to work. It's not that easy. Your target marketing, meanwhile, you got days and days of messaging and proactive communication, digital, online. We've got a slow enhancer from Zillow. We're taking calls. We're actually interacting. We're psychologically communicating with these buyers. So there is a very strategic, intentional process in place when we're utilizing this. And meanwhile, we're creating even more curiosity and enthusiasm because as we go through this staged sort of onset, we're using our high-level professional images. I mean, we're putting on images that are compelling and causing people to slide to the next one and wanting them to get through that front door even more. Your first showing today is online. That's where buyers are deciding. In some cases, 70, 80% of their decision has been made before they even come to the house. So what you have online is incredibly important. Not just the images, but the way that they're edited, the way they're enhanced. You can't over enhance. There's a lot of agents out there today that are over enhancing their images. And then we have this underestimated or this underwhelming experience. Like, wow, I thought this dining room was so much better. Well, they messed up the pictures. You know what I mean? So it's a very fine line, and you need to know what you're doing. That's why we use professionals. It's a very high level skill in our business. Of course, the other enhancer is video. I mean, we're taking live walkthrough videos of this property, and we're putting this messaging out there before they can get in now. And we're building up this excitement because we've got literally preset appointments for coming for Saturday morning. This is such a great tool because I talked about digital marketing earlier, how I can retarget specific custom audiences and demographics. YouTube is not a real estate website. You probably know that. However, our YouTube channel which is dedicated to properties, is a search engine for us. Okay. Now, when I put a video of that home, let's just say I had one in particular. It happened to be in a development which was it wasn't 55 plus. It was maintenance free, slab, and they were all ranches. That's the way the makeup of the neighborhood was. This one happened to be modified for a living aging in place. It's called. It's actually an ADA compliant home. You would not notice it, but the doorways were wider. It was custom built. I mean, this is probably the best sort of compliant home I've ever been through, but you just didn't notice it. The owners wanted to be subtle about it, and I was selling the property for them. So I suggested that we utilize our video marketing, our digital video marketing to target and search engine optimization for the characteristics that this property had, which was the ADA compliant home. We put the video on one day around 4 or 5 o'clock. The next morning, 8 a.m., we had an inbox message from another local person who wasn't in the market to buy, but was suffering from a certain complication in their life where it was a progressive need where they were going to be in a wheelchair. And they had always desired a community, in fact, this particular community, but they didn't think they could ever find or modify a home to like this was, because this was custom built. Such a beautiful story because we were able to target market the buyer without publicly, because if you have a compliant home and you advertise it as such, well, guess what just happened? Everybody that's not in need probably won't look at it. So there's ways that you can layer this in, and no one knew any different, However, our search engine optimization, our keywords in the back end of the video, because no one sees them, were aligning with her Google searches. So the Google search and YouTube, which are owned, they own each other, or Google owns YouTube, connected. And guess what happened on her screen at midnight that night, or slightly thereafter? The video of our listing, our seller's property, came up, and it displayed through a walkthrough, not still pictures, it displayed to her everything she was looking for in a home. They bought that home by noon that same day. They overpaid for it. Why? Because they needed it. And would a buyer without needs overpay for that home? The answer is no. So I think you see where we're going here. Of course, then we start to pour on the internet sites. And before you know, we've got this incredible buildup on day one where we're active. And we've got excitement, we've got urgency, and we've got enthusiasm on the house. Now, let me just say this. The final component that is suggested, it's not always necessary, but if you want to really take advantage of the full sphere of this process, you want to participate with what you can do in terms of your pricing. Now, my strategy is this. A lot of people will come in and say, hey, underprice the home so that there's a clear value and you sell it, you get people into the bidding war. Now that's essentially what we're going to do, but I like to have a little more thought put to it. And what I work with my sellers on is I say, listen, we've got what we have. This is what we're working with. Now, what I'm going to do is find 2 or 3 or more similar comparables. No home is identical, but similar in the characteristics that were average or less than average. Okay, so not at the level that our property is. Not to say that ours is superior, but we need to find ones that are less superior or below it. Find out what those sold were, whether it be square footage, whether it be beds and baths, the acreage, whatever the criteria is where we arrive at what that fair market value would be for a home that would be less desirable or less attractive. What we then do is we take our pricing model and we adjust it to 2 to 3% below that. Okay, so now we're not saying, hey, this is where we're at and this is where these were at, so we're going to go here. That's difficult for a buyer to interpret. It's easier for a buyer to say, gosh, they immediately interpret the value. They say automatically it's clear that this home is priced slightly or at below market value. And what am I going to do? I'm going to go after that as a buyer. I'm going to pay for that. I want value. That's what buyers are wanting. So the strategy goes like this. I'm going to basically look at the market. I look at this is how the market works. This is our strategies of over asking price. And this is basically the timing of supply and demand versus the flood of buyers. Now, I would say today, I'm not going to date this video with a date, but we happen to be in a market right now. I told you about the home that I'm going to at 5 o'clock. We're selling homes in 12, 6, 3, 24 hours. It's quite extraordinary. Now, that's an extremely unique scenario, and it's not going to last. In fact, we could be at the very peak of this market. But these fundamental strategies will work in any market. But a general normal market that we typically see here, we should have a reasonable offer, or I should say we should have an offer in a very reasonable amount of time, which is about 21 days right here. So we say that if we're not under contract utilizing these strategies and we're not being overpaid with this offer in 21 days, something's not in line. Either the plan was way off, the condition is in line with what we thought it was in terms of the perception of value, or the market shifted so off than what we thought. It's very rare, but this is our measure. Now, it's based on pricing at fair market value now, okay? So here's what I'm talking about today, the strategy of pricing just below that 2 to 3% below fair market value. Let's just say your average home in this area, 200,000, 2 to 3%, that's $4,000 to $6,000 under. Now, we're seeing homes right now, which again is the exception, but in this strategy, we see homes sell 10, 15, 20. The one I'm going to sign offers on tonight, we are actually $32,000 over asking price. Extraordinary. So this is essentially the strategy and how we're really pulling that pool of buyers out and causing that experience, that environment where the showings are literally just stacked. Okay, that first day, it's like every 30 minutes, another group's coming through. We've got a pile of buyer agent, realtor cards sitting in the counter, the psychology involved in that is quite extraordinary for a buyer, and it really takes its toll. And in many cases, you're going to find. And here's how we judge. So this would be the conclusion of our sort of conversation and our results. You've succeeded in this system when any one of the following things would occur. Number one, of course, you get an over asking price offer. That's the first target, first objective. Number two, we're talking and working with what's called escalation clauses. Escalation clauses are a beautiful thing for both a buyer and a seller, but there's nothing better if you're a seller to get an escalation clause. I was looking at one today. We just sold a house about 7 days ago. This happened to be priced at $199,900. I'd say about $5,000 under what would be fair market value. Well, of course, we pulled off this strategy. So here's what happened. We got one offer in right around 208. We got another offer in at 210, okay, with an escalation clause that said they would beat any other offer by $1,000 up to 239. Now, the seller got 210 on 199, okay, and she underpriced it by 4,000 or 5,000, so she got overpaid for the house. Now, meanwhile, the buyer was willing to pay up to 239. Now, if I could have got a couple more offers on the table, 215, 220, she would have got 221, 216. So that's what an escalation clause is. And when you get one of those on your property as a seller, you've succeeded. The other one is the fun, cheesy buyer sympathy letters, I call them. These are the letters that they've got the picture, like the one in that scenario. There was one. It didn't even show the picture of the family. It showed a picture of their dog, and it was this cheesy letter that just said, we fell in love. We were head over heels when we walked in the front door, and we can see you raising our family, and our dog is going to sit in this back room, and it's going to be amazing. So you get the sympathy letter, like, hey, choose me. I know I'm in multiple offers. I want this. Crazy things like waiving inspections. I would see buyers right now today. They're waiving inspections, which is a scary thing to do. It's not necessarily something that I would recommend a buyer do, but again, we're talking about how to cause somebody to do something that isn't normal. And if you're a seller and you don't have inspection requests in your home, I can say that could be worth $5,000. So there's value there in that item. And then, of course, lastly, but not limited to, this is a crazy one too, because the concern now is we're selling over asking price. Well, what if it doesn't appraise? I can tell you myself, that's a different topic. I do have a full appraisal packet system that I would implement, and I'll explain that if we ever meet. And it works, but what if it doesn't? So now we're seeing offers come in that says, the buyer readiness, I will pay in cash the difference between the amount of the appraisal and our contract. So in other words, if I end up paying 225 and only paid 220 or appraised at 220, I'm going to bring $5,000 more to the table. So crazy stuff. Buyers offering the dates of the seller's choice. These are some fun terms. And I always say it's not always price. Just as I said, every one of those items, except for the cheesy sympathy letter, has value to that. Sometimes you don't want to have to move twice. Sometimes you don't have to pay for storage. Sometimes you don't have to stay at a hotel. There's value in all of the terms and conditions in a real estate transaction and purchase agreement. So I would encourage you that if this has helped you in any way, if you saw value, if you think that I might be able to work well with your circumstances, I would love to hear from you. Like I said, I do this full time for 20 years. My wife and I, this is our sole business. We love it. It's our passion. And I would happily welcome your call, or if you think someone should call me, my number is 440-670-1755. You can text me, you can call me, email, first, last name, Chris Higgins at kw.com. And I'll tell you what, I've enjoyed this. And as I said, we're going to spend about a half a minute on me and about a half an hour on you. And I hope you've seen value. And I look forward to getting you overpaid for your house. Have a great day.